Good morning, everyone. Today is our almost close to so many sessions. I'm sure how many sessions we have conducted, but we are almost closing this book in a couple of weeks. I'll be talking about chapter number 20 from Escaping the Build Trap book written by Mellissa Perri. The name of the chapter is basically Outcome Focused Communication, right? And, everybody knows that communication is really, really important in any organization, in any project, in any product, and as an individual person, right? So let's check a statistics of how how much the communication is important, right? So if you're a product manager, director of product management, or leading a product, or even a project manager, I think, and I think based on this statistic, you can see that 50% emphasis is put on the communication skill, how well you can communicate your strategy, how well you can communicate with your peers, with the different stakeholders, right? The rest of the things are divided into smaller proportions, but what really matters here is the communication skill, the way you communicate your strategy and the vision of your product to the team so that they can build the right product, right? And this is again important to avoid any kind of build trap, as referred by Mellissa Perri in this book, right? And this is why we should have a better communication in the organization to build a right kind of product, right? So let's start with an introduction of what really is important in the communication. So if you see how, so you have a small company or a bigger company, you have a different teams, different stakeholders, and different people in your project and product, right? What effective communication do is it basically aligns the teams with the product strategy, right? So what you want to build, right? And it, you have to iterate on in and you have to iterate on it, and you have to always keep thinking about your product strategy and communicate this really well within your product team, within your different stakeholders, right? But the problem is when your company grows, when the scrum team, the product teams become huge, the communication becomes a very big challenge for product managers, for the company to have spread this kind of understanding and knowledge to the different teams, right? So what you need to do in order to make sure that you are communicating well with the different teams, there are different frameworks that Mellissa Perri referred in this book that you can use to have effective communication when your teams and company grows, when your products are in a growth stage, and when the team grows really, really high, right? The reason communication is really important is because it really prevents going things bad, right? If you don't communicate your strategy and roadmaps and what you want to build in the company, there will be a lot of regressions. There will be a lot of things that needs to be repeatedly do and iterate on, right? So that what you need to do, you have to actually use a right terminology in your company within different stakeholders. So you have sales team, you have marketing team, you have developers, you have designers. There are different teams, right? They all understand different languages. They all think about different things about certain topics that you tell them, right? So it's always good to have a right terminology in order for different teams to understand what you want to say and what you want to build, right? I hope you have seen something like this in all of your role, or even in some of the company. If you're a developer, product manager, marketing, or sales team, right? You might have seen this. So I'm sure everybody knows what it is. It's basically a product roadmap, right? In which quarter, what's your strategy, what you're going to build, what you're going to release to the customers, different stages, different milestones, everything is communicated in this roadmap, and it's widely used across the organization. But there are certain problems in this roadmap, right? And how to tackle that, how to solve that, that's what Mellissa Perri recommended in the book. So basically, everybody knows that roadmap explain the strategy. It actually defines your product strategy, what you're going to deliver in different quarters, milestones, and releases, right? But the problem is the roadmaps are most of the companies, the roadmaps are very static, right? They don't update it properly, or they don't really reflect where you want to go or what you want to release, right? So that's why the roadmap shouldn't be a static. It should be a living strategy for your different teams and stakeholders, right? So you have to constantly update your roadmaps to reflect what is the product strategy and what you want to deliver to the customers, right? It shouldn't be a static. It should always keep updating and changing the dates. It's completely fine if you're not able to achieve something on first quarter. We can always update it. We can always reflect what might have gone wrong and what can be improved in the next milestone, and that should always reflect in your living roadmaps. So it shouldn't be static. It should always be a living or live roadmaps that will reflect where you want to go and what you want to deliver to the customer, right? And like I said, you have a different teams, and different teams understand different terminologies, different strategies, right? So you have to tailor your communication. So for example, if you're talking to sales team, they are always focused on how can they acquire the customer, or how can they make a new customer for the company. So you have to tailor your document or communication so that sales team can understand better. If you're talking to a UX team, they mostly understand about designs, right? So you have to tailor your communication in such a way that they understand what they are designing and how it will be going to translate into a website that customers can use. And similar to different teams that you're talking to, you have to tailor your communication accordingly. There is one book which is called Product Roadmap Relaunch by Lamborda and McCarthy, and it is recommended by Mellissa Perri if you want to learn more about how can you define or how can you create interesting and impactful roadmap for your product. The next thing, which is very, really important, and that's what I talked about, is you have to have a right terminology used in your product to communicate what you want to deliver to the customer. So there are different stages. For example, if you want to deliver a technology product or a SaaS product, right, there are different phases that you need to go through in order for your product to be developed. So there is alpha phase, there is a beta phase, and then there is a generally available, right, that widely customers can use and anybody can use, right? What are these different terminologies? So when you start building a SaaS product or any of the technology product which has mobile and websites, you have to use the right terminology so that everybody knows what you're going to deliver and when it's going to be delivered, right? So for example, one of the terminology in software companies are experimental, right? When you build an MVP, right? That actually to validate whether your problems that you're trying to solve is worth solving, right? And it does not include production code. It's basically a small set of codes that actually help you understand whether this problem is worth solving, whether customers will be able to use that or not, right? There is an alpha phase where you actually deliver minimal set of features for a small users, maybe your existing customers, maybe customers, very targeted customers, which knows their problem very well, and you are helping them to solve that problem, right? Once you have that validated, once you build that, you actually move to the next stage called as beta, right? And that actually helps you solve the scalability challenges, whether the problem that you're solving, whether the product that you're building is actually scalable when it will be launched to a wider audience. So that's when you release a beta version to test it with a wider audiences to see the technical feasibility and technical scalability for your product. And the last one is basically generally available when all of these stages are complete, when you are sure that your product is going to be scalable, used by many customers, then you make it available as generally available. And that actually solves different areas of problems for a specific user, right? So these are the different terminology that you have to use to communicate your product development, to communicate your roadmap and your strategy for the product, right? So what does this communication do with, and what does the communication has to do with the strategy? It basically aligns your development teams and different stakeholders together, right? If you have a poor roadmap where these strategies have not been communicated properly, then it will create a tension between multiple teams, like sales team, marketing team. Marketing team don't understand what they want to market. Sales team don't actually understand whether the product is ready or not, and whether they should be able to talk about the specific features that you're launching to the customers, right? So it always has to have a living roadmap. It always has to have accurate, you always have to do accurate communication for your strategy and releases to the different teams involved in your product development stages, right? And you kind of have to create a better relationship between different teams, product sales, marketing, engineering, right? To actually communicate this strategy, to communicate what you want to release, so that they understand it well. If you poorly communicate this between different teams, then it creates a bad relationship for at least a product manager and within the different teams, like what they want to deliver and what they want to do, right? And like I said, you have to tailor this communication for a different groups together. So it's a big responsibility for a product manager to kind of come up with a different set of communication for different teams, right? Because everybody understand different terminologies, everybody understand different aspects of something that you want to talk about, right? And if you do communicate properly with different stakeholders, then your company becomes a product-led focus, not a sales-led or a marketing-led focus. This is very critical, and I think this is something which Mellissa Perri talked about in one of the example of Marketly, right? So the company actually was previously a project-led focus, right? It was not a product-led. So they have been creating a different teams, like they almost had more than a 350 Scrum teams, because it becomes a wider company. And then they started facing a challenge of communicating these strategies well within different teams, and even to the VP of product and to the CEO, right? What they are delivering, and because the different teams have different strategies, different set of a kind of a way of working, and it was not communicated well to the CEO and VP of product, and it was creating a problem for them. So definitely you will have to align these different teams to create a product-led focus company, not a project or sales-led focus. And to do that, you have to create, so this is specifically required for a bigger companies, where you have a lot of team. Like an example that I said, right? The company had 350 Scrum teams, and it was getting very, very difficult for them to communicate their progress, communicate their metrics that they have collected from customers, and how it is going to be translated into outcome based product for the company, and that will generate a revenue, right? So one of the thing that Mellissa Perri said is that you create a product operations team, right? And what does this team do? This team actually collects metrics, reports, and analysis from different Scrum teams or different stakeholders, and then it collects them together to form a well communicated, I would say, a one pager or something that will reflect whether you are making a progress, whether you're going in the right direction, or whether you're going in the wrong direction, right? And it involves different teams that product operations teams has to communicate with sales, marketing, support, customer success, and a lot of other teams, right? To accumulate all of these informations together, so that they can analyze it and prepare it in such a way that will communicate your outcome to the higher management, right? So what is the role of this product operations team? And I think Mellissa Perri put more emphasis on this product operations when your organization is increasing, where your Scrum teams have been increasing, which is going from a very small teams to a very large team, right? So how do you actually form this product operations team? It basically involves your project managers, some of the member from UX team, some of the member from developer team, who understand their area very well, right? You take certain people from different teams, and then you make them responsible just for collecting reports, metrics, and analysis, and the progress, and then they accumulate this together, and then they represent or they actually present this in the right way to the higher management to show them what is the current progress, right? Because like I said, when the company grows, when the team grows, when the product team grows, it's become really difficult for communicating your strategy, vision, and what you want to build to the wider audiences, right? So this is something really, really important. And this is something bigger organizations currently do, where they form a product operations team, which collect these different metrics from different Scrum teams and product teams, right? And then the responsibility of this operations team is to actually standardize the different processes. For example, if you're talking to your customers and collecting different metrics, so it needs to be automated for collecting this different data analysis and metrics from different customers, different teams, right? It shouldn't be like product operations team will reach out to you asking you, okay, can you provide this information? We are lazy, right? We don't react to instant messages or something. We always delay it for some time, right? And that's why it's really, really important to automate all of this, so that the data collection will be easier for this operations team. They don't have to reach out to, like I said, right? In the book, she said there are 350 Scrum teams, right? If you have to talk to each of this team, it will be difficult to get who is providing what kind of information. And that's why you have to standardize the process of collecting different metrics, analytics, and data from these different teams, so that you don't have to always ask them, okay, provide me this information, I want to present it to a CEO or a product VP of product or someone, right? So it's the responsibility of operations teams to standardize all of this process to collect different metrics and different output from the team, right? And what it does, it actually aligns your product strategy and development process and the outcome together, right? And then you can represent or present this to a VP of product and CEO, so that they will understand what they're building, what the different teams are responsible, and what is the current progress, right? Because if you have 350 Scrum teams, or at least 100 of Scrum teams, looking at all of those timelines and roadmaps is completely difficult, and you cannot combine 350 teams or hundreds of teams roadmap into a single roadmap. It won't look like a roadmap. It look like a puzzle or a maze for CEO and product team, right? And that's why this operations teams is responsible for collecting these different metrics from different teams, and then presenting in such a way that it reflects the outcome for the company, and it reflects the current progress, right? And that's how you become a product-led company, not a feature-led or sales-led or a marketing-led company, right? And that's why this effective communication is extremely important to build a right product for your customers, to build a revenue-generated product for your customers, right? Because everybody knows the current progress, everybody knows what they're building, and everybody knows where they currently stand for their product and development, right? So basically, communication is the heart of any product that you're building in the organization, and it actually gives you an information and the strategy and vision that you have defined for a company, so that you will build the right kind of product for your customers, and that will really help you kind of build a revenue generated products for the customer. So that's all about this chapter 20, outcome focused communication. Any questions, any doubts? I hope I have completed that on time.
Yeah,
Yep.
very nicely covered, and all the aspects mentioned by Mellissa in the book, I think
Yep.
you have touched.
Yep. Cool.
Any question from Rahul or anyone? I have a question.
Yep, sure.
Or some additional lights, we can say.
Okay.
Okay, so this we are always talking about that, okay, is it only applicable for the new product, or is it applicable for the new features as well? The roadmap I'm talking about.
So I think based on my understanding and what I've gone through, it's not necessary that roadmap is applicable only for the new product, right? Because even if your product is already used by customers, the customers might have some bugs and new feature request and some of the issues or enhancement that they have been asking, right? And that should get reflected in the roadmap, right? So roadmap is something that, okay, this is the feature. For example, they wanted a new dashboard where they want to get all the data or all the information into one place, so that when they log in into their system, they should be able to see that highlighted in the dashboard, right? So this is something enhancement that they have asked, and this can happen only after your product is launched or even in the new product, right? So it's not necessary the roadmap is only applicable for the new products. It is always applicable for already existing product that you have already sold to the customers.
Yep, that's great.
Awesome.
So as the author is stating that, okay, it has to be evolving, right?
Right.
Then only it is a roadmap. But if you see the real-time roadmap, that is always fixed. That is always fixed. That cannot be modified unless until there is change approval board. There is the approval from the change approval and all those things, right? So one question always comes out, okay, who should be owning this roadmap?
I see. Yep. So based on my experience, I think different teams is responsible for owning their part of the roadmap. For example, 3 teams are there and they own a different features, right? And they realize that one of the feature is blocking the release, and they have some critical issue, right? So they should communicate this beforehand, before the release, at least 2 or 3 weeks earlier, to the product manager, so that product manager can actually take that information and update the roadmap. So ultimately, it is always good if one person own this roadmap and they communicate with the different teams to get the information and put that in the roadmap. Because if you make responsible all other teams to update the roadmap, this roadmap will will be a messed up, right? They will update it continuously and you will not be able to achieve your end goal. So one person should own the roadmap, but they should communicate with other teams to get the metrics, to get the information, and then they should update the roadmap.
True, that's correct. So I was reading somewhere that, okay, this product roadmap can also be replaced with the problem roadmap. Okay, because we are solving the customer problem. We are solving the customer problem, right? So there's the reason one of the another leading product person is saying that, okay, this roadmap in today's world is not that much important, because the roadmap is generally a fixed roadmap.
Right.
The roadmap is generally a fixed roadmap, and it has to be revised as per the deployments, as per the releases, as per the production code which we are sending in to the customer.
Agreed.
And that feedback should come automatically. Okay, that feedback should come automatically to the team, and team should revise their upcoming features, what problem they are going to solve. This is what I was hearing. This is what I was promoting as well in my organization or any other organization wherever I meet people. Okay.
Right. And I think I completely agree on your point, Abdul. And that's why, Mellissa Perri said that it has to be a living roadmap, not the static roadmap, right?
Yep.
Because the static roadmaps always communicate, okay, in next 1 year, we are going to release this product and it has different phases. It will release in first quarter, we're going to release this milestone. In second quarter, we're going to release this milestone. But it does not always happen this way, right? You have a lot of challenges, you have a lot of feedback from customers, you who have some technical issues, and that should reflect in the roadmap to communicate it really well to different stakeholders. And that's why she put more emphasis on the roadmap should be a living roadmap, a live roadmap, right? So I completely agree on that point.
Okay, these are my views.
Yes, definitely roadmap should be a living roadmap, shouldn't be static. But still, there is a static roadmap is needed. Any guess? Anybody? How long this? What could be the length of that static roadmap? 1 quarter, 2 quarter? I'm just we know this was answer to this question, but still want to have some brainstorming with experts here.
So based on my learning, the roadmap should reflect 4 quarters, right?
That means 1 year.
Right. But it has to
Okay.
be in such a way that it can be expanded or expanded at one specific milestone, right? So you have quarter 1, quarter 2, quarter 3, and quarter 4, right? Some things might not work really well for you in quarter 2, and that might get extended to quarter 3. So you have to kind of update that to reflect this issue or this problem, so that everybody knows what went wrong and what isn't working for them.
I have seen this roadmap being updated after each sprint, which is too dynamic, and that's a reflection of bad planning. That's truly a reflection of bad planning. I mean, what I mean by that, but not the bad planning, but we did not understand the customer's problem well. That's why we keep on updating the roadmap after each sprint, which is bad. But if it is static for more than, let's say, 2 quarters, then there is a good chance that we will slip. We will miss, the problem that we are trying to solve the customers' problems.
Agree.
That's my view, but we can debate on it.
Yeah, I think definitely every sprint update, it means it is not a roadmap basically. And visibility of 1 year makes sense, but updates can happen. Maybe it is quarterly or once in 2 quarters. If that to make that roadmap as a living roadmap.
Yes. I mean, it can be, we definitely need to update the roadmap. Okay, this sprint, these problems of the customer have been solved, this, deployed, done, dusted.
That can be accommodated in maybe in 1 quarter, multiple sprints, right? Simple here and there, little updates on every sprint. That is ought to happen because we all are human beings. And like our cardiogram up and down, that is a proof of we being alive. That's what example I give always.
Exactly.
To my teams. We never would like to see a straight line for our loved ones. Right. And if at all the state, we are very much auto. Always getting accommodated. Of one sprint, some downs will accommodate in the next sprint as an ups.
It shouldn't. I 100% agree with you. It shouldn't be like it shouldn't be a bumpy road. Every 2 sprints we see. No. We don't want to. This is not the problem of the customer. We keep changing the problem of the customer.
Agree. Awesome. That's a good insight.
Oh, and good discussion.
Yeah. Thanks. I'll stop sharing and then next person can start.
No, I think keep your screen. That's not a problem, Shamshir.
Okay. Nice.
Yeah.
Perfect.
The remaining all the chapters are very small chapters now. I think rewards and incentive. But Masnandan is not here, right? Safety and learning and customer centricity. And then I think the book ends. Budgeting. Budgeting is another one, small one chapter.
Budgeting onwards is it's been assigned to me. And most likely it's going to happen next week. That's what I've been told to.
Okay.
I'll be presenting
So
it
last 2 chapters are budgeting and customer centricity. And before that, 2 chapters are reward and incentive and safety and learning.
So these are the area which I don't have experience in, and definitely I want to learn from you all.
Okay. I haven't read. Yeah.
So today Imtiaz Bhai is silent. Everybody was speaking that okay, Imtiaz Bhai is not there at the beginning. Dipti was. So I will just.
I just stepped out to bring something. I think I missed some part of like
All good?
Yeah. Some medicine was to be given for my son, so I just stepped out.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's perfect.
Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So you had some question or something that you wanted me to answer anything based on my experience?
Yeah. So one question I have is, how do you solve the conflict between different teams in your organization, right? Because it was definitely, the conflict always get created if you don't communicate well within different teams. So if you are in such a situation, how do you solve that conflict?
It should be like customer focused is the one most important aspect. And but at the same time, it varies situation to situation. That's why I always say that observation is the key. Because all these things are processes. We can't implement processes on top of what you say. Like we can't ignore the major part, like the communication you said. Communication is very important aspect. You said the way you are communicating.
Right.
The same way goes for the observation. So that part is something which I see always missing in this. Now I'll give one classical example in conflict case. And end of the day, what is the result? I will tell you. So this is a use case which was a mechanical industry company which is like into automations of this rather CNC machines, you can say, which are used for producing these auto parts. Now they have three different kind of teams. Now they are trying to get the product instead of like we suggesting. Now what is happening is that they have one IT team which comes from the age-old background, which they know probably kind of Google and then Google Docs kind of situations. Where they don't understand the real use of the this one. Now they come with a situation says that okay, we want to capture the details of the technicians wherever he is going. We want to like follow him like that Vodafone network. So, so that is not a feature which is to be worked on. Now the management has to be very strong on such thing, which who has the what you say, the balance sheet responsibility, right? So those people have to take the right decisions. Now they get carried away by multiple such inputs. So the leadership has to be really strong in terms of taking the decisions or putting down certain things. So unless and that is what drives the product. If you take any kind of a product, it is probably the few who drive the product roadmap. This has to be done. Now what happens is that while going percolating down layers, it becomes Chinese what you say whisper. So the communication has to be really clear what you are trying to achieve, and that is what is the guiding factor in terms of the taking the decision, which is the priority. So what are we trying to achieve at the broader level? And that has to be broken down. Then only it can be communicated to the below team that this particular thing has to work like that, or the use case has to be explained to the till the end user or the end developer. Then only they can come out with the right decisions, because every time you don't have access to the product team. So one of the way, if I remember in our Nokia days, we used to have one guy called Tommy Normie. So he used to visit all the carriers, and then he used to come with different sets of what you say, you call it the customers' problems or this one. So the way he used to explain was how the end customer is going to use the product and how that is going to like what kind of features then will be required for that. So he used to explain the use case basis, and that was becoming the guiding force for us to decide the smaller level details actually. But the whole thing is that you have to look at the bigger picture. So the bad part that happens today is that we more focus on the number of issues solved, number of what you say, the reporting matrices are also skewed like that. Not anymore probably. That heart is something which is from the document I like. The heart, what was that heart? I think Deepti can tell. Heart metrics, right? That was happiness of the customer and those aspects. So those are the ones which can be used to like resolve the conflict. So the questions probably need to be framed. I don't know, are there any questions which are framed here? Like let's say when we are discussing this conflict time angles, then we should be asking some questions like is it helping that solving the happiness index of the problem this one customer, or is it helping you generate revenue? Is it helping you to complete the picture in the sense like imagine you are creating a painting, and then you are adding some more details into that. Now, whatever details are you adding, is it aligning to the whole picture, or is it something completely different? Because that's another area. What I see is that when you're going in one direction, then suddenly you see that there is a big spark here. Oh, this can be really good feature, and this can be really good thing, and people start going and developing in that. So the whole thing doesn't remain neither this nor that. Imagine the picture getting kind of created. Now that different blots starts coming in that. So unless you
Right.
say that it is a picture of a this, let's say, mountain, it's a picture of a tree, or picture of this one. So then that detailing happens. Now you can say that it's a picture of this particular oak tree, which has so and so things, and then it has, let's say, 20 birds sitting on that. That kind of thing, picturization, if it goes down layer, no, then things become easy. So they won't go and say, make that, okay, they don't bring a cheetah inside and then say that, okay, that cheetah is sitting in the tree, because that is a good feature to have.
Nice examples. I think it's a good insightful things that you have shared with us, and really resonate with what we have been doing. Like not communicating well, not communicating what we
Communication
actually
is like what you communicated has to get properly picturized in everybody.
Right.
That is most important.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah.
Thanks for
But
sharing.
your
your
original question, what Samshare it was?
Conflict
It was
It is the
conflict, right?
conflict, right?
Yeah, conflict. So like I said, right, the conflict only happens if we don't communicate
Correct.
what we want to build within different teams. And I, being a developer, I've seen this so many times, that developers always want to build something and give it to a project manager or a product manager, right? But they don't
Right.
ask questions very well, that is this
Correct.
something that we really need in the product. And after spending 2 months or 3 months, we get to know that this is not needed. This is not something customer wants, right? And this only happens if the product manager or the project manager, or within the team, different stakeholders are not communicating well within different teams, right? So that's why I have these questions.
Yeah. So very important for the large
Chinese
teams.
whisper,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah, it is. I've seen that. The end of the day,
correct.
I think we had seen even the pictures. Probably the customer wanted some swing like that.
Right. On the back, you are putting paper, and everyone is understanding and drawing what is communicated from there. Yeah, that is also a nice game.
So that, I think, essentially the thing, and that is what will help driving the what you said, the problem resolution also.
How, as a part of communication, there are a few people in the team. We need to manage the egos.
That's the people management altogether, and that comes at every level, right?
He has brought really right point, and that's what happens. Since I have told, it has to be like that.
Yeah, it has exactly.
That is.
He comes up with if he's like a bit of a higher management, higher than a product manager.
That is a hippo technique, Abdul. Yeah, I hope you might be aware, right? We call it hippo technique.
Yep. That's really a weird situation that the team gets into. And at some point of time, the senior management has to come and start whipping in a nicer way that will kick that, egoist person, the person with ego needs to be whipped. At some point of time, this has to happen.
Right, I think Sami has brought a really interesting point. Probably, I don't know where it is not addressed here, definitely. The way Western culture works is different than probably Indian culture a lot. There, at least they are looking from at least in the product teams, they probably do not worry about that. Ego angle is little less there. I have seen that.
And their hierarchy also is flat. So everyone's voice gets equal weightage and understanding.
Yeah, here we are a little different. Probably the training related to how to remove the biases, that will really help. This is all comes because we get biased on our the opinion. So how do we kind of create? Probably one chapter about that is required in the Indian context.
Correct.
So
and
there is something of that sort material. Yeah.
Conflict is like it starts with the lowest level, where it's just a disagreement. What I'm saying versus what Imtiaz is saying. And Imtiaz is the senior. I should not voice it what he says. not
Mm.
not to overrule of
Yeah.
my views versus your views, kind of. So
So the
that disagreement, and then it can blow down to crisis if not
yeah.
addressed at the right time.
Mhm. So the mediocre solutions comes because of that. अच्छा ठीक है तो
Very
आपका
true.
भी नहीं मेरा भी नहीं will do something like that.
There is
That's what.
compromise. You end up
Right.
compromise.
So that compromise solution kills the product
And
completely.
it kills. Correct. It will not be. It should be understanding on both the views, and then having it at an win-win for both of what is the best. Not why Dipti is saying, why Imtiaz is saying, but what is the best
Exactly.
towards product.
Mm. Exactly. Yeah.
There is one very good book on this one that is written by Patrick Lencioni.
Mm.
Five dysfunctions of a team.
Mm.
Yeah.
5 dysfunctions of a team, and good examples are given. Okay, and some recordings are also available on the YouTube of this book as well. Okay, 5 dysfunctions of the team, written by Patrick Lencioni.
Okay.
Yep.
Okay.
So great conversation.
Just 1 minute. I'll take 1 minute of you. I think we have so many books related to product, but product execution related. I found one good book that's I think it's kind of a getting things done. 4 disciplines of something is there. 4 disciplines of execution. Have anyone come across that? 4 Ds of execution. Probably only one video of that is sufficient if you want to take it up sometime.
Please do share that video on
Yes.
our WhatsApp group.
I'll
Definitely will help.
yeah,
Yeah.
that's
Yes.
really good one. Yeah.
That's great.
But that's not probably related to too much into product, but it is related to execution at least.
That's
So,
great.
so what I get to hear from our VP of product is it's not always that product managers should read product management.
Yeah.
Yes.
Oh, I'm not. So I was actually saying I think my internet is not stable. It's what Zoom is giving a notification.
No, I think Zoom. It told. Matlab, it popped up message to me as well. So maybe something with the Zoom and not individual internet.
Yeah.
Good. So I was saying our VP of product said that product managers should not always read just a product management related books. They should also read leadership books, right? Books that will help them solve their day-to-day problems, right? So not all processes and product management related books will have those kind of information. So like product managers are kind of leaders, right? We always used to say that product managers are CEO of product, right? Some of the people don't agree on that, right? They are not the CEO, but there are a lot of things that product manager has to do which will not be available in product management related books only, right? So they should go ahead and read some other kind of books, right? One of the book that I really like by Simon Sinek is Start With Why, right? And I've seen a lot of videos on YouTube that he provided, and he mostly talk about the new generation, the leadership, and the management in the companies. So that will also help us understand a lot of things about our day-to-day work and what we should be doing in the company to become a better person.
Simon Sinek is a known voice, right? LinkedIn voice also. I
Yep,
think a lot
yep.
of small videos.
Yeah. So the way he communicates, that really, kind of like, it's kind of motivational, that you understand a lot of things after watching his 5 minutes video that you won't get to know more if you're reading at least 2 or 3 books. So that's why, there's watching these small videos, getting a very crisp information from his videos and the way he talks. It really helped me actually understand a lot of things about the management, the leadership, and how we should be tackling our day-to-day challenges.
Yeah, that's a good one. Yeah.
Okay, great. Anything more?
So
I'm going to-
one more Sunday, and I think this book is done. let us have a pipeline for the next, what we are starting with.
Yeah, so that is the Lean UX book
Okay.
that we were thinking about.
Okay.
And I have pasted the image of that one as well in the group, in our WhatsApp group. So
Oh, is it?
just
Okay.
please go ahead and buy that book, or have
Okay.
your own copy in whichever way you feel suitable.
Okay.
Yep. So I'm stopping the recording for this session, and I wanted to have something discussion about the next book. Is that fine,
Yeah.
dear friends?
Yes.
Yep, sure.